We're ready otherwise, aren't we? You, James, you ready otherwise? Okay, because I'll just get the Zoom up and then I'll get my robe on and then we'll bring them in.
Nobody's approached us on that.
Okay, so we'll do this.
I'm using that, or the first,
You think we're good?
overnight. What issues are we going to have? No, I mean, I saw it on dinner.
All right, okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
I didn't tell her. Oh. Please rise for the jury.
Maurice, yours is right around up there, I believe.
everyone may be seated then. I think we're ready for the state's next witness.
Yes, Your Honor, the state will call Officer Tyler Hemmingson.
To see that, so. Go ahead and have a seat and adjust the chair and the microphone and then I'll place you.
Okay, Your Honor.
There you go. You swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth in this matter.
I do, Your Honor.
Great. And you're tall enough that maybe that would mean maybe bring that microphone up.
Fair.
There you go. All right, so whenever you're ready, Mr. Loomis, you can begin.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, Mr. Hemmingson.
Morning.
Can you state your name for the jury, please?
Yes, Tyler Hemmingson, TYLER HEMINGSON.
And where are you employed?
The Sioux City Police Department,
How long have you been an officer at the Sioux City Police Department?
6 years since September.
Are you a certified peace officer here in the state of Iowa?
Yes,
What is your current assignment with the Sioux City Police Department?
I'm a detective in the Special Investigations Unit, which is essentially vice-related topics that we handle.
And how long have you been with that assignment?
Over 2 years.
Prior to that, what was your assignment with the police department?
I was on patrol.
I'm going to take you back to February 24th, 2023. Were you called in on that particular evening?
Yes.
And why were you called in on that particular evening?
I was already working on that evening but we did receive a call from a major event that occurred.
And that event was what, Officer Hemmingson?
Someone had been stabbed and was found in an alley.
And what was the location of where officers were responding to?
It was on 11th Street, west of Pierce.
414 11th Street. Does that sound right to you, officer?
Yes,
And specifically, would that be apartment number 6?
yes,
And you responded to that call that came out for service?
yes. Multiple officers were on their way there, so I went to assist.
What was your role then upon arriving at that apartment?
When I got there, I wasn't sure if the suspected apartment was cleared from any bodies or any people in there, so I assisted in clearing the apartment. Once it was cleared, I got called to go to Officer Steele to assist in searching a mail party for weapons, and I did that. Shortly after that, I was advised that the incident had potentially occurred at a different location closer to 14th and Jackson. So I went to that area to look around. I did not find anything of that over there to show that any major incident had occurred. No evidence, no blood or anything like that. From that point, I essentially went back available as I wasn't needed at the time until I got a call from detectives in the persons unit.
And what were you asked to do when you received that call from the Detective Bureau?
They asked if I would go help secure the apartment as they were applying for a search warrant. So I went and stood outside the door and just made sure the scene was secure in the event that we would retrieve a search warrant.
Was a search warrant obtained for that apartment?
Yes,
Did you remain at the apartment waiting for that search warrant to be approved?
yes,
Did you participate then in the execution of that search warrant?
yes.
And so who all was involved in the execution of that search warrant? Let me ask this, officer, were there other officers involved besides you that were involved?
Yes.
And walk the jury through how a search warrant is executed once it's obtained, just generally speaking.
Yep. So in general, once you get the search warrant, we'll go to the location, make entry. In this case, it was for an apartment. We will take overall photos from our CSI technician so that we know how everything was in its current state before we touch or search anything. Then once the overall photos are done, each officer detective will kind of like choose a room and you methodically search that room or area and collect evidence as we go. And we'll take pictures of the items before we collect them, just to document the scene and how things are.
Was that done here?
Yes,
And so, as I understand it, officer, you're on scene at the apartment, you maintain security of that area until the search warrant is obtained.
yes,
Once the search warrant has been signed, other officers then arrive back to the apartment and you and those officers make entry and begin to execute the search warrant.
correct.
Now, this particular apartment that we're talking about, apartment number 6, give the jury a sense of how big this apartment is.
It's a pretty small apartment. It's basically a small living room with a closet, a small bathroom to the right, and then a small kitchen area.
And so what was your role, or what room of this apartment did you search during the execution of the search warrant?
I went to the bathroom, which is right inside the door to the right. It's a small bathroom.
And walk the jury then through the process of you getting into the bathroom and beginning your search of the bathroom. How do you do that?
Usually when I search a room, I start at one side of the doorway and work my way around, and mainly at like eye level first. I know overall pictures were taken, so I was able to start searching it. I essentially started searching from the doorway around anywhere in the bathroom where things could be hiding. I didn't see anything laid out in plain view when I first entered, so I start searching, inside, cabinets and things like that. Once I get done searching everything that's reachable, that's when you start to look up and down and search in ceilings or under things, and start moving things around a little more to search at different levels.
Does your experience tell you that you need to not just look at eye level, but look up and down?
Yes,
when
yeah,
you're
and in
executing
my
a search warrant?
yes, in my experience, I have found things up in ceilings, and you find access to basements and things like that in crawl spaces looking down. So it's necessary to look up and down too, not just at eye level.
And so when you're first beginning your search of the bathroom at ground level, is there anything that you took note of or observed within the bathroom? Not necessarily anything that was recovered or found, but did you make any observations of the bathroom itself?
Yeah, so as I'm searching the bathroom, it was relatively clean until I got to the front of the shower. I observed that there was a towel on the ground that was sort of folded in half. When you grab it, you could feel it was cold and mushy, and if you stepped on it, it would feel wet. So I could tell it was wet, and it was laying out right out in front of the shower. I also noticed that some of the ceiling tiles were ajar or not seated properly inside the framing of the ceiling.
May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
You may.
Officer, I'm gonna hand you two photographs marked as State's Exhibit 52 and 53. Do you recognize what's depicted in those photographs?
Yes,
And who took those photographs?
would have been our CSI technician.
And is that how
Yes,
executed the search warrant?
yes,
State would offer State's Exhibit number 52 and 53 in the evidence.
Any objection?
No objection to those, Your Honor.
52 and 53 are admitted.
Officer Henry said, I'm showing you State's Exhibit number 52. Showing you State's Exhibit number 53. Now the towel that was folded in half, that was wet, and you could feel it was squishy. Is that what you're referring to? That we see here in State's Exhibits 52 and 53, that folded towel?
yes, the one laying on the ground.
Hand you another photograph. State's Exhibit number 54. Have you recognized State's Exhibit number 54?
Yes,
And what is depicted in State's Exhibit number 54?
that would be the ceiling area in the upper half of the shower from the bathroom that we were searching for this search warrant.
Now, this particular photograph that we see here, that's documenting the ceiling, is this the tile that's almost above the shower,
Yes,
or right outside the shower?
yes,
And was this photograph taken before the execution of the search warrant?
yes,
And how did everything look before you began searching?
yes.
The statement officer states that it before.
Any objection to 54?
No objection, Your Honor.
54 is admitted.
So in state's exhibit number 54, this is what you took note of inside the bathroom when you looked up after you did your initial overview at ground level. You indicated your experience tells you to look up, you see this. Is that right, officer?
That's correct.
And so your attention is drawn to this.
Yes,
And so after your attention gets drawn to the tile that you see as a jar outside the shower, and you see that the floor mat is wet, or the towel outside the shower is wet, what is it that you do next during your portion of the search warrant execution?
so again, I want to do a methodical search of the ceiling tiles. So I start in the corner, I lift a tile, and I see a red t-shirt. Well, I see a red cloth, which I later find out is a red t-shirt. But it appeared obviously weird that there would be a red cloth item up in the ceiling. So I requested CSI to take pictures and began collecting the item to see what it was.
So when do you have to step up to reach the tile up there?
Yes, I asked if anyone had a chair that was searching the rest of the apartment, and someone was able to get me a little folding lawn chair. And I had to step up on it to get to it.
And where was it exactly when you lifted up the tile?
So as the wall goes up, it's at the corner where the wall would meet the tile. So as I lift the tile, it would be sort of sitting on top of the framing of the wall. So as I lift the tile looking toward the wall, I could see it that direction.
So it was sitting back from where you would push up the tile?
Yeah, but not very far. I could, just by lifting the tile, I was able to see a lot of the item. I didn't have to get up high and put my head into the ceiling to see it. I was able to see it from where I was.
I'm going to show you another photograph, state's exhibit number 55. You recognize state's exhibit number 55.
Yes,
And what's depicted in state's exhibit 55?
that would be the way that I found the item, by lifting the tile and seeing the red cloth.
Statement officer, state's exhibit number 55.
Any objection to 55?
No objection, Your Honor.
It is admitted.
Showing you state's exhibit number 55, Officer Hemmington. Is this your hand that you see in the photograph?
Yes,
So you're wearing gloves during the execution of the search warrant?
yes,
Is that common practice that the officers who are executing the search warrant wear gloves?
yes,
Are those latex gloves?
yes,
And the tile is being lifted up here for purposes of taking the photograph, and you're doing that. And then that's where that red cloth is located.
correct. At this point, I had not touched it. I saw it up there, thought it was odd and we should get a picture of it. So a picture was taken before I had touched it.
So after this photograph gets taken, what do you do next?
Once the photograph's taken, I reach up with my right hand and lightly grab the item from the end, and I can feel that it's not just a t-shirt, there's something hard inside of it. Given the shape, the curvature, I was able to assume that when I grabbed it, I instantly recognized that it felt like a knife handle, but again, it was covered up. So I pulled it down and brought it out toward the living room so we could undo the cloth and see what it was.
Are you making any observations other than the hardness of the object that's wrapped up in this item, or the cloth that's wrapped into this cloth? Are you making any observations about the cloth, the item itself that's inside? What other observations, if any, are you making?
Yep, so for one, I could tell that it was a longer item in there because the shirt was staying up or the cloth was staying up. It wasn't drooping down. Additionally, I could tell that the t-shirt was wet too. It was cold to the touch and it was mushy. I could tell through my gloves that it was wet. So I would say if you were to wring the shirt out, water would pour out of it, but it wasn't dripping wet as I was holding it. So it was, it's not like it had just been used as a towel in their hands to dry off. It was more than that. It was really wet, but it wasn't quite dripping yet.
Did you remove the item from the ceiling?
Yes.
What did you do with it once you removed it from the ceiling?
Took it out to the living room area so we could unwrap it and get good pictures of it.
I'm gonna show you two more photographs, Officer Henderson, State's Exhibits 56 and 57. You recognize what's depicted in those two photographs?
Yes.
What is shown in those two photographs?
That would be the item I had laid out down on the ground and then opened up what we then found out to be a t-shirt, finding the knife inside.
State would offer State's Exhibits 56 and 57.
Any objection to those exhibits?
No objection, Your Honor.
56 and 57 are admitted.
Showing you State's Exhibit number 56, Officer. Is this how the item was when you pulled it down and then set it onto the floor?
Yes.
And are you in the living room right now?
Yes.
You hadn't done anything to this particular item, manipulated it or anything, you just pulled it out and set it on the ground?
Correct.
And then State's Exhibit number 57. Was that knife found wrapped in that t-shirt?
Yes.
Did you make any observations of the knife after the t-shirt was unwrapped from it?
The knife was also wet, just like being wrapped in the t-shirt. I would always refer to our CSI technicians to examine the items. So that's about the extent of me examining the item.
Your role is to execute the search warrant and locate any potential items of interest.
Correct.
In the investigation.
Correct.
Beyond that, it's left to the crime scene tech people follow up after that. Is that a fair way to say that, officer?
Correct.
Now, the t-shirt and the knife that were located in the ceiling tile. Is it common for you to find items like that in ceiling tiles?
I would say while I'm at work doing search warrants, yes, it's common to find items like that in ceiling tiles, but throughout everyday life, no.
Finally, Officer Higginson, I'm going to show you one more exhibit, State's Exhibit 23. You recognize State's Exhibit 23?
Yes,
And what is that?
that would be the knife we found in the ceiling in the red shirt.
State would offer State's Exhibit number 23.
Any objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
23 is admitted.
We're showing the jury State's Exhibit number 23. Officer Hemmingson, during your execution of the search warrant in the bathroom area, did you take note of anything else within the bathroom, or was anything else collected in the bathroom?
Yes, we had discussed that since things were wet in the bathroom, it's there's potential that someone may have taken a shower or washed the items. So we decided to try to collect the shower drain cover, I believe, and then the trap for the sink. Just in case we would be able to gather any evidence from those items. So they were collected as well.
Did you have any further search of the apartment outside the bathroom, Officer Henningsen?
I did look around the living room a little bit, but it was kind of just back searching what other officers had already searched, and I found some items of venue for the owners of the apartment, but that's about it.
And those items of venue showed whose apartment it was
Correct.
and who was that?
I honestly cannot remember the name right now.
The information from the other officers was that the apartment was Nathaniel Parker Jr.'s. Does that sound right,
Yeah,
Officer?
yeah,
Henderson?
that sounds right.
Was that the extent then of your involvement into the investigation of this case? Primarily assistance initially on scene and then assistance with the execution of the search warrant?
Yes.
And is it common then for officers to go over each other's work? Meaning you indicated that you went into the living room and just kind of looked over in the living room as well. Is that common practice for officers to double check each other's work to make sure things aren't missed?
Yes, very much so.
And that was done here.
Yes.
Thank you, Officer Henningsen. The state has no further questions for this witness at this time.
Cross-examination?
Yes, Your Honor, thank you. Is it officer or detective?
Either's fine, but
All right, well, I'll stick with officer.
okay.
All right, so I think you initially said that you went for a call for a body that was found in an alley?
Yes, I believe that is correct.
Okay, and do you happen to remember the weather that night? Was it warm, cold?
I think it was pretty cold. I had a hoodie on and probably an underlayer, a couple underlayers.
Okay, so that's your recollection of the temperature.
Yes.
Now, in your experience, do people hide valuable things?
Yeah, they can, yes.
So you've heard of people hiding money, jewelry, other items that are important to them.
Yeah, yes.
Okay, so that's not strange to you.
That would not be strange, no.
Now, you said something that I thought was strange, that in, you're not finding things in ceiling tiles and everyday life. In your everyday life, were you going around looking in ceiling tiles?
Generally, no. But
So
working
would
on,
it surprise you that you're not finding anything because you're not looking?
no, not at all.
Okay. All right. Now, in your experience as a law enforcement officer, in most cases, are individuals who are found with drugs arrested?
It depends on a lot. Depends on the drug and the amount, their history.
That's why I said in most cases, officer. So in most cases, there are people that are found with drugs arrested.
In most cases, it's hard. I really couldn't say. Do you mean the whole department wide or just me in personal?
Well, you can only testify to you. So,
Okay.
so you personally, if you caught someone with drugs, what's your experience?
In today's day and age, if they have a little bit of marijuana on them, they're probably not going to jail. So given how often that occurs, it's probably close to 50-50, maybe slightly in favor of going to jail, but I don't know the statistics.
Okay. So again, for you, if someone was to have a different type of drug, like maybe methamphetamine, is that person likely to go to jail?
Yes.
Okay. So if someone who was in your experience, who was believing that they may end up going to jail, might they try to hide something that's valuable to them?
Yeah, that would make sense.
Now, the reason, what would be the reason for you to try to collect evidence from drain traps?
I don't know. I'm not a CSI technician, so I'm not fully aware whether DNA evidence or anything would be able to be collected from that or not. So we collect it in case it's possible to be collected from it.
Is that a directive because it can be, or just, you're just told to do it, so you do?
I believe in discussion, we all agreed that has potential to be helpful or be of value. So we did it.
All right, officer, thank you. Sorry. Thank you. No problem.
Anything further, Mr. Loomis?
The investigation on February 24th was a stabbing, is that right?
Yes,
You find a knife hidden in the bathroom tile. Correct?
correct.
In your opinion, is that more than just coincidence?
Yes,
Is that more than someone just trying to hide something valuable?
yes, in my opinion, yes.
Is that more than someone trying to hide something because they have some drugs on them?
Yes,
In your opinion, is that because someone's trying to conceal something
yes,
and hide something to
yes,
avoid detection?
yes,
And that further was corroborated by the wet place towel out the shower and the wet t-shirt that's wrapped around this knife.
yes.
Thank you, officer. Nothing further.
Anything further, Mr. Lopes? Go ahead.
So in your experience, did you observe anyone do anything to Mr. Harper?
No,
You don't have any direct knowledge, of any of the circumstances or the injuries that he felt Mr. Harper?
correct. Yes,
Anything else, Mr. Loomis?
You're using your common sense, aren't you, officer?
yes,
Okay, so supposing is one thing, but using your common sense is pretty important in the job that you do.
very much. Yes,
And one can draw conclusions based on a lot of things being put together.
yes.
Okay, nothing further.
Last time, Mr. Lopes, anything else? Okay, your excuse. Thank you,
Thank you, Your
sir.
Honor.
State's next witness.
The state calls Officer Bill Enixon.
Gonna have you go ahead and have a seat first. Yeah, we'll get you situated and then put it under oath. You swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth in this matter?
Yes,
Good, thank you. And it's, why don't you give us your full name?
William Enixon.
All right, Mr. Loomis, you can begin when you're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, officer.
Good morning.
Where is it that you're employed?
Currently employed with the Sioux City, Iowa Police Department.
Are you a certified peace officer here in the state of Iowa?
Yes, I am.
What is your current assignment with the police department?
I'm currently assigned to the Special Investigations Unit.
And how long have you been doing that?
Approximately 3.5 years.
What was your assignment prior to being in the Special Investigations Unit?
I was in the ASAP program, Alcohol Safety Action Program, for 3 years.
Were you working back on February 24th of 2023?
Yes,
And so you were already on duty on that night?
yes.
What are your hours?
Generally, my hours are 7 PM to 3 AM. That's what they were that night.
Now, on that particular night, were you called in to assist with a stabbing?
Yes, I was.
Where officers responded to 414 11th Street, apartment number 6?
Yes.
And do you recall what it is that you did when you responded for that particular call that came out?
Initially, when that call came out, I wasn't part of the initial response to it. But once investigators got called in, I went and met with them initially at the station to see what they needed help with. After that, I began searching the area for a possible suspect vehicle.
And what information did you have in searching for a possible suspect vehicle at that point in time?
By the time that I met with investigators up at the station, they had a security camera video that showed the suspect vehicle at the apartment at that 11th Street apartment building. After watching that video, we identified the vehicle, believing it to be mid-2000s Nissan Murano, white in color.
And so what was done with that information then once you've reviewed that video? Do you put that out to other officers on that night?
Yes, at that point, the ASAP unit was on duty as well, and the west side on watch 3. That information was relayed to them. So myself, the other investigators in SIU, as well as ASAP and some watch 3 officers began canvassing the area looking for that vehicle.
And was that vehicle located?
Yes,
About how long was it, if you recall, that vehicle got located?
I don't recall exactly when it was stopped.
So the call that came in was at 9:47 PM. Do you recall if the car had been located prior to that next morning of February 25th?
Yes, it was located the same shift. It would have been within a few hours, a couple hours of that. But again, I don't know the exact time.
Was that car located by patrol officers?
Yes,
And do you recall where that car was located or approximately where it was located?
it was approximately the 1400 block of Grandview.
Did you respond then once officers on the street had located this car?
Yes.
May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
You may.
Two photographs, officer, some States Exhibit 71 and States Exhibit number 72. You recognize States Exhibit 71 and 72?
Yes, I do.
And what's depicted in those two photographs?
This would be the white Nissan Murano that we got out with in the 1400 block of Grandview.
State would offer States Exhibit number 72 in the evidence.
Any objection to 72? 71 is already admitted, just
No objection.
72 is now admitted.
States Exhibit number 71, that white Nissan Murano. Then States Exhibit number 72. Another picture of the rear of that particular vehicle. What was done with that particular vehicle on scene there, Officer Enixon?
On scene, the driver of the vehicle, but when I arrived on scene, the driver of the vehicle had already stepped out of it and was just talking to other officers there. We did look in the vehicle, and specifically I observed on the passenger side in the second row, what I would describe as the B pillar or the support pillar between the front and rear door was what appeared to be blood droplets.
Was there just the one passenger in the car?
The driver.
The
yes.
driver? Or bad question, one person in the car, the
Yes.
driver, and that person was identified as Conway Malone. Is that right, Officer Enixon?
Correct.
Did you make any other observations of the car at that time?
Just the blood droplet that I just mentioned. That's the only other observation that I made on scene.
And so what ultimately was done with the car?
With that knowledge, that it was determined the car was going to be towed to the police department for further investigation.
And was a search warrant then obtained for the car too?
Yes,
And is that common practice for the department or officers in an investigation to take cars to the station for further examination?
yes.
And the driver of that particular car, Conway Malone, what was done with him at that point in time?
I believe he was transported to the station, interviewed by other detectives. I was not part of that interview, though.
So you didn't have any contact with the driver of the car?
No, I did not.
After the location of the Nissan Murano in the 1400 block of Grandview and it being towed to the station for further review or further examination, did you have any more involvement in the investigation into this case?
Yes, I did.
What was your next involvement?
After the vehicle was towed to the police department, it was secured in a secure bay there. I made sure that the bay was completely locked up and took the keys, the only keys we have to it, and provided that over to the other detectives, that being Detectives Sitzman and West that were upstairs.
And then after that, what was your next involvement?
After that, I was also notified that there was a search warrant that was being applied for the apartment, previously mentioned apartment number 6 up at the apartment complex. I went up and met with the other officers that were holding the apartment until the search warrant was approved.
And was the search warrant approved for the apartment?
Yes,
Did you participate in the execution of that search warrant?
yes, I did.
And so what was your role in the execution of that search warrant?
When we entered, I ended up searching the closet area. It's a very small apartment. Once you enter the apartment, immediately to the right is a bathroom. Immediately to the left is a closet area that somebody appeared to be living out of. That was my designated search area.
And where was the closet when you walk into the apartment, if you recall?
It was just around to the left.
And how big was the closet?
I would say roughly 5 foot by 3 foot.
During the search of the closet, did you locate anything of interest to the investigation?
Yes, immediately upon going into the closet, which was relatively empty, there was a jacket hanging on the left wall of it. It was a darker colored, either green or brown jacket with an orange liner. I collected that. I continued searching. There appeared to be several female garments in a small sleeping area where it appeared a female was living there. But then on a shelf up above that area in the closet, there was a BB gun inside of a small container, as well as a pocket knife, a folding knife.
What was done with the BB gun and the pocket knife?
The BB gun was left there. At that point in time, we didn't have any indication that a gun or gun-like object was used in this incident. The pocket knife was collected.
And where on the shelf would have been the pocket knife, or where was the pocket knife located?
It was a small shelf that roughly 2.5, 3 foot long. It was just located on the shelf. I don't recall if it was inside of an object or not, though.
Can you describe the knife at all?
Smaller folding knife, maybe 3 inches in length.
And your photograph of the exhibit 68. Recognize this exhibit number 68.
Yes, I do.
What's
That would be me holding the knife that I found.
they would offer states exhibit.
Any objection?
No objection.
68 submitted.
On the jury states exhibit number 68. Officer Leamington, is that how you found the knife when you removed it from the closet?
Yes,
Or is that the same knife that you pulled from the closet?
yes, it is.
Statement offered, states exhibit number 20.
Any objection to 24?
No objection, Your Honor.
24 is admitted.
Officer Enixon, when you remove those items,
Yes,
when you remove them, do you have any examination or do you take any sort of look at the object at all? Or is it just collected and turned over to the ID people with the police department?
I would say we did a cursory evaluation of it, look at it, see if there was any blood on it. I did not observe any blood on the knife before I packaged it.
And again, that knife was collected.
Yes.
Did you have any further involvement into the investigation of this case after your participation and assistance in the search warrant?
No. Oh, I'm sorry, I did actually. A few days down the road, Detective Nias provided me with a cell phone, or sorry, 2 cell phones that he had a consent form signed on to do data extractions on. I don't know off the top of my head who those phones belong to, but it was a consent situation with the phones. And that was regarding this incident.
You didn't personally examine those phones though, did you?
No.
Thank you, Officer Enixon. The state has no further questions for this witness.
Cross examination?
Yes, Your Honor, thank you. Officer, do you remember what the weather was like that day?
I remember it was cold. There was snow on the ground. I believe other than that, it was clear though, from what I remember.
Okay, would you say it was very cold?
It was rather cold. I don't remember the exact temperature though.
Now, I believe you testified about observing some videos. Which videos did you observe?
Sergeant Hogendijk brought some security camera videos up to the station. From looking at them, it looked as though those security cameras were on the building in question, the 11th Street apartment building. I specifically recall looking at a video of the rear parking lot as well as the exterior outside of the front door of the building.
So your recollection is the video that you observed is the outside of the building?
Yes, I recall one video of a hallway as well. But I know there was far more videos than what I observed. I was focused on the vehicle.
Okay. So at some point you did have contact with a vehicle that matched the description? Is that
Yes.
right? I'm sorry, I might have talked when you answered.
Yes, I did.
Okay, thank you. Now you said you observed some droplets in the vehicle.
Yes.
Did you observe any what might be described as cast off or any blood that might happen when someone's being stabbed and things of that nature?
I did not, but I would say my search that I conducted was very minimal. I only was at the passenger side of the car, looked in the car for maybe 20 seconds or so before I saw the droplet on the ground, and didn't do any further search beyond that.
Okay.
But there was nothing that I immediately saw, no.
Okay. Were you at the passenger front door or rear door?
I initially went to the front door and looked in through the window there, but then at the rear door is where I saw the blood droplet.
Okay. How much time do you think you spent in the rear area?
Probably that 20 to 30 seconds approximately.
Okay. And so other than those drops, did you see anything on the seats, on the ceiling, on the back of any of the seats?
Not that I observed.
Thank you, officer.
Anything further, Mr. Loomis?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Okay, you're excused. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I think we're going to take a break at this point in time and before we have our next witness available. So we'll keep in mind the admonition I previously given you and going to take a short break and we'll call you back when we're ready. So all rise, the jury is excused. Be seated. Mr. Loomis, how did you want to proceed with this? Just have him come in and ask him a few questions, or how did you, what were you thinking? Yeah, yes, I sure can. Let me get this reset, so. Mr. Loomis, how did you want to proceed with Mr. Malone? You want to have him come in and be under oath and testify, or I guess I'm just looking for you to tell me how you had planned this.
Yes, Your Honor, I would ask for the witness to be brought in and placed under oath in order for me to understand what this witness is going to respond and how he's going to react.
Okay,
He's been subpoenaed to testify. I do not know what he will say. I do know that this witness has provided sworn testimony before today's date. And depending on what his answers are here this morning, the state would intend to either use that sworn statement if this witness refuses to testify or claims not to remember the events in question. But I just want there to be some indication from this witness how he's going to respond to questioning. And the court may need to, intervene with this witness to indicate to him that he is here pursuant to that subpoena and that the court is directing him to answer the questions. So I just want to get an understanding of how he's going to respond to the questioning outside the presence of the jury before he does testify.
just give you a chance to weigh in on that if you'd like to, Mr. Los. I'm not sure if you have a position, but I'm going to certainly give you the opportunity to say anything you might wish to before we get started.
Your Honor, I don't have any specific objection to the course that Mr. Loomis is proposing.
And you were able to conduct a discovery deposition of?
I was not.
Oh.
No, Your Honor.
Oh, okay. I guess
The state
maybe-
did.
Okay, was it under a Rule 2.5 subpoena?
It was, and the
Okay, okay.
defense was a participant in that statement.
I got you. That just helps me. That's why I asked the question so I could clarify. So you didn't ask questions. You were just present, Mr. Los?
No, I may have, Your Honor.
Okay.
May have.
I'm not holding you to that. Okay, fine. So why don't we have him brought in and we'll place him under oath, and we'll do that, of course, outside the presence of the jury, and we'll see how this develops. It's funny how we have today, again, we have a delay. Yesterday afternoon, there wasn't a delay. I don't know how that works, but. I'm sorry. Okay. Okay. while we're waiting for Mr. Malone, can I just get confirmation? He's not in custody in any manner in relationship to this case. Is that correct?
That's correct. His, yeah, unrelated to
Okay,
anything.
I just
here.
wanted to be sure. That's what I understood, but I wanted to be sure of that, so. Mr. Malone, I'm Judge Neary. And you have been subpoenaed to testify here in court. We wanted to visit with you before we start in front of the jury. A couple things I want to talk to you about. The first of which is I know you're in custody and that you are in custody on something that's entirely unrelated to this matter. And we don't intend to talk to you about anything that's related to the reason you are in custody. So I want to assure you of that. We may have to ask you whether you're in custody and if you have charges pending, but we won't go into any of the facts or circumstances of that. And I wanted to assure you of that first. And so I think I'll leave it at that at this point in time. I'm just going to ask you, because council's going to be asking you some questions. I want to ask you to, will you raise your right hand for me and swear to tell the truth in this matter? Yeah. Do you swear to tell the truth in this matter to the best of your abilities?
Sir.
Okay, all right. And I'm going to try to see if you can get a little closer to that microphone, because where that red light is, will that will help us get what you have to say. And Mr. Loomis, I'll let you begin in the examination you wish to do at this time.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, Mr. Malone.
Morning.
Mr. Malone, you were served a subpoena back in September of this year to appear for purposes of this trial. Do you recall that?
Yes, sir.
And do you understand that you're here pursuant to that subpoena?
Yes, sir.
Now, Mr. Malone, you don't want to be here voluntarily, do you?
No, sir.
Do you understand the oath that was given to you by the judge just a moment
Yes,
ago?
sir.
Is that a yes, Mr. Malone?
Yes, sir.
And do you understand why you're here this morning to offer testimony in this case?
Yes, sir.
Do you recall the events from February 24th of 2023?
Not so much, sir.
Now, when you say not so much, are there certain things that you do recall about February 24th of 2023?
Yes, sir.
And there are certain things that you don't recall about February 24th of 2023?
Yes, sir.
Now, prior to appearing here this morning, you provided testimony in a sworn statement that was taken on March 3rd of 2023. Do you recall providing that testimony on that day?
No, sir.
You do or
March
don't?
3rd. I don't remember, sir.
Do you remember answering questions about this previously? And what information you have about what took place on February 24th?
Yeah, I mean, y'all asked me questions, a bunch of questions.
And so you have memory of that particular,
I don't know what particular days, sir.
well, if I told you it was March 3rd, you don't dispute that it was March 3rd, do you?
March 3rd.
But you recall making a statement
Yes, sir.
previously. Now, that statement has been given to you for your review. Is that right, Mr.
That's when
Malone?
I was a subpoena, for the deposition.
Prior to your testimony here today, Were
I
you given
remember,
a-
sir.
were you given a copy of that statement?
Yes, sir.
Were you able to review that statement?
Not really, sir. 'Cause I ain't got no glasses to see too good.
Are you able to read?
I'm able to read, able to see. I can't see too good.
And it's because you don't have your glasses,
Exactly.
and there was nobody that could bring you your glasses,
That's right.
as I understand that your glasses were destroyed prior to
Yes,
you
sir.
going into custody.
No, they destroy it.
They're destroyed and you don't have them,
Uh,
okay, and you need them to read that statement? If certain portions of that statement are read to you, would you be able to understand that to help refresh your memory? If there are things you don't recall?
yes, sir.
For purposes of your testimony here this morning, are you going to answer the questions of both the state, myself, and the defense with Mr. Loos?
Yes, sir.
Do you understand that because you're here pursuant to that subpoena, that you do have to answer both the questions of myself and Mr. Loos?
Yes, sir.
And is that what you intend to do?
Yes, sir.
Are there any other questions that you have about why you're here this morning?
No, sir.
Do you understand why we were doing this outside the presence of the jury?
No, sir.
You're not gonna change your mind when the jury comes in and do something different than what you've said on the record?
No, sir.
You're gonna answer the questions in front of the jury as well?
I guess.
I appreciate that, Mr. Malone. I don't have anything else that I need to address at this
Okay.
point in time, Your Honor.
So, Officer Moody, can you check and see if Jill has her jury ready? We might as well leave him at where he's at. If we can get them back in and get this done, it would be easier, I think, than to reset again. And Mr. Malone, I will just place you under oath again in front of the jury so that they see that. It's important for them to see that as well.
Yes, sir.
I hope you're feeling better today. I know you didn't feel well yesterday.
Yes, sir. Feel bad.
If for any reason you need a drink of water or anything, we have some here with a cup. And you should help yourself, or if you need assistance, let me know.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Your Honor, maybe just for a little point before we get started, maybe could we approach first?
Yeah, of course. Unless you want a record, you tell us. No. I appreciate your confidence. Right, so, folks, this is Conway Malone, and he's the state's next witness. But Mr. Malone, if you would just look kind of raise your hand. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth in this matter?
Sir.
All right, and would you go ahead and state your name for us on the record?
Conway Malone.
Okay. Mr. Loomis, when you're ready, you can begin.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Malone.
One.
Mr. Malone, you were placed under oath to testify. You understand what your oath is, Mr. Malone?
Yes, sir.
Now, Mr. Malone, you were provided a subpoena to testify here in this trial. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And you're here testifying pursuant to that subpoena?
Yes, sir.
And this isn't something that you want to do voluntarily, is that right?
No, sir.
Mr. Malone, I intend to ask you questions about the night of February 24th of 2023, okay?
Yes, sir.
But before we talk about the night of February 24th of 2023, I would like to ask you about how you know some of the individuals that you were with on that particular night, okay? One of the individuals that has been discussed during the course of this trial thus far is a man by the name of Nathaniel Parker Jr. Do you know him?
Yes, sir.
How is it that you know him?
His dated sister.
How long have you known him?
Not that long.
Can you estimate how long it is that you've known him?
Like weeks, 2 weeks, probably. I don't know.
And when you say a week or 2 weeks, are you talking back in February of 2023 that you had known him for about a week to 2 weeks?
Yes, sir.
How would you characterize your relationship with him?
Really ain't had a relationship with him.
It's someone that you knew?
Not really. I said I dated his sister.
He was an acquaintance of yours?
No, sir.
Would you recognize him if you saw him?
Yes, sir.
There's another individual by the name of Nathaniel Parker III.
Oh, you see, it's two of them. Pops, the old, his dad. Now I know his dad.
Okay,
Yes.
so let's just make sure that we're talking about the same people because there are two Nates involved,
Yes.
right, Mr. Malone? Okay, and so Nathaniel Parker Jr., is that who you refer to as Pops?
Yes, sir.
How do you know Pops?
Through his daughter.
And that's someone that you would recognize?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and that's someone that you knew for about a week or two prior to February 24th,
I know him since like October.
since October
Yes, sir.
of 2022?
Yeah, October, November.
And he's who you refer to as Pops.
Yes, sir.
Now, the other Nate that's part of this particular trial is Nathaniel Parker III.
Yes, sir.
Do you know him at all?
I know him, but don't know him like that.
Would you recognize him if you saw him?
Yes, sir.
Back in February of 2023, how long had you known him or known of
Said
him?
about like a week, 2 weeks.
And how do you refer to him? If you were to see him, what would you call him?
Bro.
Would you refer to him as Nate, Nathan, Nathaniel?
Hey, bro.
Okay. Now, there's another individual by the name of Jeffrey Lee. Did you know Jeffrey Lee back in February of 2023?
Not really, no, sir.
Had you ever seen him before?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Did you say yes? How many times had you seen him before?
Couple times.
Is he someone that you would recognize?
Yeah, I would recognize him.
And how do you refer to him? Is Jeffrey, Jeff, or some other name?
Jeff, I guess.
And there's another individual whose name is William Harlan. Do you know who William Harlan is?
Yes, sir.
Had you ever met him before that night?
No, sir.
Did you see him for the first time on that night?
You know who that is.
We'll come back and talk about him in a little bit, okay, Mr. Malone? So as we go through your questioning, Mr. Malone, if you could refer to those individuals in that way for me so that we can keep track of who it is that you're talking about, so we're not confused or I'm not confused. So If you're referring to Nathaniel Parker Jr., please refer to him as Pops. If you're referring to Nathaniel Parker III, if you could refer to him as Nate. And Jeffrey Lee, if you could refer to him as Jeff. That way everyone understands who it is that you're talking about. Is that fair? And you can do that for me, Mr. Malone? Okay. Now, Mr. Malone, I want to show you two photographs. Your Honor, may I approach the witness?
Yes.
Mr. Malone, I want to hand you two photographs. What have been marked States Exhibits 71 and 72. Can you look at these two photographs for me, Mr. Malone?
Yes, sir.
And do you recognize what you see in those two photographs?
Yes, sir.
What is shown in these two photographs, Mr. Malone?
Mother's car.
Could you repeat that answer?
The mother's car.
Your Honor, would you be able to switch?
Oh, sure. Thank you.
Thank you. Showing you States Exhibit 71, Mr. Malone. And you can either refer to the screen that's up there on next to you or the one up here, the bigger one, and then States Exhibit 72. Now, you indicated that this particular vehicle, this Nissan Murano, white in color, this is your mother's car?
Yes, sir.
Were you driving this car on the night of February 24th?
Yes, sir.
Now, on the night of February 24th, 2023, did you have occasion to go over to Pops's apartment here in Sioux City?
Did I have what?
Did you go over to Pops's apartment?
Yes, sir.
Do you know where Pops lives, the address?
Yes, sir. I don't know the address, but I know stay at.
Do you know what street he lived on?
I don't know the street name.
Had you been to his apartment before February 24th?
Yes, sir.
How many times do you think you were at his apartment prior to February 24th?
Few times.
Do you recall what time it is that you got over to Pops's apartment on the night of
Sir.
February 24th?
No, sir.
Was it dark outside?
Probably, I think so. I don't know. I don't know.
Did you go by yourself when you went over to Pops's apartment?
Yes, sir.
Why is it that you were headed over to his apartment on that particular night, Mr. Malone?
I believe it will get me a cigarette. I don't remember.
You were headed over to his place to get a cigarette?
Yeah.
Had you called him or did he call you to come over to his apartment?
Nobody called nobody.
You just headed that way.
Yes, sir.
Now, at the time, where were you living back on February 24th?
14th and Summit.
Did you go from your place over to his place?
Nope.
Do you recall where you were coming from before going over to Pops's
I
apartment?
think it was Morningside.
I'm sorry, what?
I think it was Morningside.
You were in the Morningside area?
Coming from the Morningside area.
So when you got to Pops's apartment, you indicated that you think it was dark outside.
I don't know if it was or not.
Do you recall where you parked?
think I parked out front or back.
You parked out front and the back?
I said, I think I parked out front or the back.
You don't recall where? When you got there, did you go inside his apartment?
Yes, sir.
Do you recall which door you used to get into his apartment?
The front door.
Now, as I understand it, Mr. Malone, that's a secure door, is that right? And did somebody let you in?
Yep.
Who let you in?
I don't remember.
And did you end up then, once you got inside, going down to Pops's apartment? Do you know what apartment number that is?
No, sir.
Now, when you come in the apartment building, there's stairs that go up and stairs that go down, is
Go
that
down.
right?
Yep.
Which stairs do you take
Go
to go
down.
to? I'm sorry?
Go down.
When you get to his door, do you knock on the door?
Yeah, I don't remember.
Do you go inside his apartment?
Of course.
Okay. Who do you recall being inside his apartment when you get there?
Pops. Jeff. They. Some other dude. I know it was a group of people there.
There's a group of people. Okay. Now, Pops's apartment's a pretty small apartment. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
Okay. So then, as I understand it, Mr. Malone, when you arrive, there are 4 people there. It's Pops, Jeff, Nate, and another man. Do you know the other man's name? So what's happening when you get to the apartment? What are these guys doing?
I don't know. Just hanging out, I guess.
Just hanging out? And so what do you do when you get there, Mr. Malone?
I sat back and I let Pops, got a cigarette.
So you sat down and got a cigarette from Pops? And so what happens then as you sit down and you get a cigarette from Pops? What happens next?
And nothing.
How long are you there for? At some point, do you leave the apartment?
Yeah, he wanted to go to the store.
Who all wanted to go to the store?
Pops.
Did anybody else want to go to the store?
No,
Why did Pops want to go to the store?
some beers.
To get some beers? And when you say store, where are you referring to?
Select gas station.
The Select Mart? Is that on 14th and Jackson?
I think so.
How was Pops going to get there?
I was gonna take him.
You were going to drive him there? So you and Pops head out of the apartment, you're going to drive him there, is that right? Does anyone else go with you?
Yeah,
Who else goes with you?
Jeff and Nate.
So Jeff and Nate both go with you too? What about the other man whose name that you don't know?
They ain't come.
Did he go with you?
No,
Did he leave the apartment prior to you leaving for the Select Mart?
I think so.
Do you know how long you had been in the apartment before you left for the Select Mart?
No, sir.
So the 4 of you pile into the Nissan Murano. Who's driving?
I am.
Who's in the front passenger seat?
Pops.
Who's in the rear driver's seat?
I think it was Jeff.
And who's in the rear passenger?
Thank Nate.
I just want to make sure that I understand you, Mr. Malone. Who was seated right behind you if you're the driver?
Thank Jeff was.
Mr. Malone, do you recall giving a statement before about this incident?
Yes, sir.
May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
You may.
Malone, I'm going to show you the statement that you provided before. I'm going to direct your attention to page 21.
Mr. Malone, would it help you if you had reading glasses?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Los, can you help us out with that?
Okay.
We'll see if we can get you some help here. All right, go ahead, Mr. Loomis, if you want to point out where it is you'd like to have him. Got to get the glasses cleaned first. That helps, yeah.
Probably see what,
Do those help, Mr. Malone?
probably, I don't know.
We'll give it a shot, so.
I'm going to hand you the statement that you made before, and I'm going to direct your attention to page 21 of this statement. And specifically on page 21, I'm going to point you to line 15. Can you see where I'm pointing here, Mr. Malone?
Mm-hmm,
Do those glasses help you see that?
mm-hmm.
Is that a yes, Mr. Malone?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And so, Mr. Malone, what I would like you to do for me, please, is read from line 15 to line 22. Just read that to yourself for me. Can you do that? Thank you. You have a chance to read that, Mr. Malone?
Yes, sir.
Now, this particular statement that you made, under oath, do you recall that, Mr. Malone?
Yes, sir.
And you may not remember the date, Mr. Malone, but the transcript would indicate that the date was March 3rd, 2023. So about a week after this event happened, right? Would you agree that your memory would have been better then about what happened?
No, sir.
You read page 21, line 15 through 22. Who did you say was in the rear driver's seat of the car?
Nate,
And who did you say was in the rear passenger seat of the car?
thank Jeff.
when you leave your apartment or when you leave Pops's apartment that night, do you leave directly to go to the Select Mart?
Yes, sir.
And as I understand it, you left there because Pops wanted to get some beer. And did Jeff and Nate, they just wanted to go along for the ride?
I guess so. Yes, sir.
Where did you pull in, if you recall, when you got to the Select Mart?
By the gas pump.
Did you need gas? Did you have any money for gas?
No, sir.
Was somebody in the car gonna pay for some gas?
Yes, sir.
Who was that?
Can't remember.
Was it a short drive between Pops's apartment and the Select Mart?
Yes, sir.
.3 of the statement that she gave before as well, Mr. Malone. Now on page 23. I want you to read lines 9 through 17 of your statement to yourself for me, please.
Okay.
Now in your statement that you gave, who did you say paid for the gas when you got to the Select Mart?
Jeff.
Do you recall that now?
Barely.
And so did Jeff get out of the car when you got to the Select Mart to go inside?
Yes, I think. If I can remember.
I'm sorry,
I say if I can remember, yeah.
did you get out of the car to pump some gas?
Think I did.
And did anyone else get out of the vehicle or your car at that time?
Pops. Think.
Where do you think he was going?
In the store.
Were you able to pump some gas into the car? After you pumped the gas, did you get back in?
Yeah.
Did Pops come back?
Of course.
And did Jeff come back?
Of course.
Did everyone get back in the same seats that they? Did everyone get back in the same seats that they were before?
I believe so.
Was there anyone else that got in the car at that time?
I don't think at that time, but maybe I think so.
Was there someone else that got in the car before you left the Select Mart?
Yeah.
Did you know who this person was?
No, sir.
Had you ever seen him before?
No, sir.
Did you know where this person had come from?
No, sir.
Did you know his name?
No, sir.
And so what did you understand was the reason why he was getting into the car?
I guess it was Pop's friend.
Is that what Pops had said?
Yeah.
Did he give any explanation for why it is that he was getting into the car?
It was cold, snowing, I guess. Yeah, it was snowing. Bring him to the house so they can hang out.
You were gonna take him to the house?
Say
hang out?
for him to bring him to the house. He wanted to bring him to the house so he can hang out, get out the cold.
That being Pops's apartment?
Yes, sir.
Did he get in the car?
Huh?
Did this person get in the car?
Yes, sir.
Did you see where he had come from?
I was just standing, I guess he was standing outside the store, so I don't know.
Did you see him standing outside the store?
I wasn't even paying attention.
You weren't paying attention? So the first time you noticed him was when Pops had brought him to the car? And where did he sit when he got in the car?
I think he sat in the middle.
I'm sorry, where?
I think he sat in the middle.
Sat in the middle between Jeff and Nate? You have any problem getting into the car? Got in and slid over okay?
I don't know.
Were you paying attention? No?
Mm-mm.
Did you say anything to this person?
Don't remember.
Did he say anything to you?
Don't remember.
Do you recall if anything was said to the person that just got into the car?
Nope.
Was it all right with you that he got into the car?
Yeah.
Was anyone talking with the man that just got into the car?
I don't remember.
Statement again that they below on page 34. Line 11 through 16. If you could please read that to yourself.
Okay, yeah.
And so was there some conversation between any of the people in the car?
I guess so, yeah.
And so what was that conversation?
Said in deposition.
And what you said before,
And even in that, it could have been some, like I told you in that deposition, I was like, it was just a conversation like, yo, come on, you know what I'm saying? Come to the house, basically. It's come to the house, you know what I'm saying? It's cold outside. And I really ain't know exactly what was being said.
right, and I understand that, Mr. Malone. I just want you to, the statement that you gave before indicates that there was a conversation that was had between Nate,
Pops.
Pops and the man that got into the car.
Mhm.
And you said, Pops just like, yeah, man, you all right, man?
Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay. Well, this is the section you had him just. look
Yes,
at, right?
it is.
Overruled.
Pops just like, yeah, man, you all right, man? Come to the house, man. You good? You know, have some beer, get out of the cold. You know what I mean? And that's what it was. So it's essentially, there's some small conversation, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And so everyone's back in the car. And this additional person is seated in the rear middle seat of the car. What's the plan now?
Go to the house.
Did you end up going directly back to Pops's apartment?
Nope,
Do you know where you were going?
no, they were just directing me where I need to go.
And who was directing you where to go?
Pops,
Do you know where you were headed? Do you know why you were going to this other place?
yeah,
What was the reason?
let's go some drugs.
And who wanted to score some drugs, if you know?
Pops, Jeff, I think it was Jeff, Pops. I don't know.
You think Jeff and Pops wanted to score some drugs?
Yeah,
Is there any conversation that's going on between the time that you left the Select Mart and are going to this other place to score some drugs? Yes?
say what?
Is there any other conversation that's taking place?
I don't remember no conversation.
Are you paying attention to any of the conversation if
Man,
there
I'm
is?
driving and snowing. First time driving in the snow. I'm paying more attention to the road.
How long a drive is it to this other place?
Not that far.
Would you say it's a few minutes?
Yeah. Minute. I guess. I don't know. I can't remember.
And so Pops is directing you where to go to eventually get to the spot that you need to get to, or the place that you need to get to? Do you get there, Mr. Malone?
Yeah.
Do you park the car? What happens when you park the car? Do you stay in the car?
Yeah, I got out the car.
Why did you get out of the car?
I can't remember. Thought I hit something. I can remember. Thought I hit backing up. Thought I hit something.
You thought that you had hit something?
Yeah.
What is it that you thought that you had hit?
I don't know. Pole or something. I don't know if I remember.
A pole or something? How soon after you parked the car did you get out?
I don't know. Like immediately, I guess. I don't know. I can't remember. I said immediately. I don't know. Can't remember.
Did anyone else get out of the car?
Yeah, Pops. Jeff.
Jeff got out of the car?
Yeah.
And where did Jeff go, if you know?
He went to the house.
Was this the back door or the front door of the house?
I don't know.
So Jeff went to the door. Did he go inside the house?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Did Pops get out of the car?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
What's that?
Yeah, I think so.
Why did Pops get out of the car? Do you know?
Mm-mm.
I'm sorry? Did Nate get out of the car?
I don't know. Can't remember now.
What about the man that got into the car from the Select Mart? Did he get out?
I don't remember, no.
Did Pops go inside the house?
I can't remember, no. No. Can't remember.
Did you go inside the house?
Nope.
How long did it take you to get out of the car and check to see if you hit something?
So I don't remember.
Did you get back in the car after that?
Yeah,
Was Nate in the car when you got back in the car?
yes, sir.
Was the man that you picked up at the Select Mart, was he in the car?
Yes, sir.
Was Pops in the car at that time?
Yes, sir.
Okay, was Jeff in the car?
No, sir. I don't know.
Jeff was still inside the house?
I think so, yeah.
What was going on when you got back into the car?
Nothing. About listening to some music.
When you were in the car and everyone was in the car other than Jeff, did anything happen while you were inside the car?
Nothing, no,
What's that?
no, not that I remember.
Mr. Malone, I'm gonna direct your attention again to the statement that you made earlier, back on March 3rd. We're gonna start on page 40. Line 16. And I'd ask that you read page 40, line 16. Through page 42, line 16. So 40, line 16 to 42, line 16, please. Do you have a chance to read through that, Mr. Malone?
Mm-hmm.
Does that help to refresh your memory about anything happening in the back seat when you, Pops, Nate, and the man in the select mart were all in the car together?
Yes, sir.
See if you had hit something.
Fixing on the radios, checking the radio stations.
You were trying to find a radio station. And as you were trying to find a radio station, what happened in the back seat of the car?
No, I thought they was playing back, they playing. Pops was like, cut that shit out. Saying,
You thought they were playing back there?
yeah, I don't know what they was doing back then. I wasn't paying no attention.
Now, in your statement on page 41, line 4, I asked the question, you didn't see anything happen inside the car when you got back in? Your answer, yeah, we got back in the car, me and Pops talking. I was fixing my phone for my radio, and I guess Nate hit the man or something. I don't know. Some scuffle. And Pops turned around and said, man, cut the shit out, man. Cut that bullshit out, man. I ask, what kind of scuffle are you talking about? Your answer, that was, you just heard, you know what I'm saying? Like, my question was, scuffle between who? Nate and that dude. Question. Nate and Pops' his homeboy? Yeah. So in your statement that you gave on March 3rd of 2023, you stated that there was some sort of scuffle between the man that you picked up at the Select Mart and Nate. And
Yeah,
that resulted in, or excuse me, Nate, and that resulted in Pops turning around and telling him to knock it off, essentially, right?
yes, sir. I remember, I don't know if they was playing or not, but man, he seemed like he was straight, cause he said he was straight, you know what I'm saying?
Straight.
Yeah, he was all right, you know. Ain't nobody was like saying I'm hurt or anything like that, you know. The man said he was hurt, he'd have said something.
So in page 46 of your statement, I'm going to refer you to line 4 through 6. Would you read that for me, Mr. Malone?
What?
Page 46, line 4 through 6, please.
Okay,
Did you read that, Mr. Malone?
yeah,
So something happened between Nate and this man that you picked up at the Select Mart in the back of that car. That's what you said before in your statement, right?
yeah.
And whatever it is that happened, that resulted in Pops turning around to address whatever it is that
Mhm.
happened. Is that right?
Yeah.
Did you see anything that happened? You don't know?
I don't remember.
Would you agree with me, Mr. Malone, that something happened back there that resulted in Pops's attention being directed to it?
Yeah, they were playing back there, I guess. I don't know.
What's that?
I guess they were playing or doing, I don't know.
You think they were playing?
I don't know what they was doing. Playing around. I don't know. Pops said, man, y'all cut it out. You know what I'm saying? Just, especially where we was at, you know.
Why would Pops make it a point to turn around and tell them to knock it off if they're just playing around?
Because where we at.
Of where you were at?
Yeah.
Was Jeff in the car?
No, I don't think so. No.
He still wasn't in the car yet? Did Jeff eventually get back in the car?
Yes, sir.
How much longer was he before he got back in the car?
I can't recall.
Do you recall if anyone else got into the car or not? Or got out of the car before Jeff returned?
Mm-mm. Ain't nobody got out the car.
What's that?
Ain't nobody got out the car.
Did Jeff get back in the same seat that he was before?
Yes, sir.
Did you leave at that point?
Yes, sir.
And where did you go when you left that house?
Can't remember either. Jeff's house, I think. Jeff place, I don't know. I can't remember.
Did you go back to Nate's or Pops's apartment at some point?
Yeah,
Were all five of you in the car when you got back to Pops's apartment?
mm-hmm.
Where did you park when you got back to Pops's apartment?
In the back of the apartment.
What happened when you parked your car when you got back there? Did you get out?
Yeah, I got out.
Did the others get out?
Yep.
The man that you picked up at the Select Mart, did he get out?
He was still sitting in there.
He was still sitting in the middle of passenger seat? He wasn't
Nah,
getting out?
He was sitting like towards he was getting out. It's just, I guess he was getting, I don't know. But he was getting out. I don't know.
Did he get out of the car on his own?
No, he ain't.
Did you observe anything about him at that point in time?
No, I don't remember.
In your statement on page 48, Mr. Malone, I direct your attention to page 48, line 4. Right here, and please read through page 50, line 1. Page 48, line 4, page 50, line 1.
See, it wasn't his birthday either. It wasn't Nate's birthday. He had just had a child. He had just had a child. So I think that's what it was too. He had just had a baby. So it wasn't his birthday when I spoke to him that day. I mean that night. He said on line 19, and I was trying to get him, trying to tell him to get out the car. You know what I'm saying, Nate. I told Nate, man, like you, happy birthday. I mean, congratulations. Congratulations. You and know what I'm saying? Yeah, he ain't had a birthday. He just had a child.
I appreciate you telling me that, Mr. Malone. Did you finish the section I asked you to read through, please?
Yeah, I read it.
You had a chance to read through that, Mr. Malone? Thank you. So I'd asked the question if you observed anything about the man that you had picked up at the Select Mart. And does that help refresh your memory?
Yes, sir.
What's that?
Yes, sir.
And what did you say about your observation of the man?
I like couldn't breathe.
And so he didn't get out of the car on his own, did he, Mr.
No,
Malone?
sir.
And you said he was in the car on page 48. The question is, he was staying in the car. And your answer is line 12. He was in the car like he was having problems breathing. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And so he wasn't able to get out of the car on his own, was he?
I don't know if he was able or not.
Well, he wasn't moving.
I don't know if he was moving or not.
He didn't end up getting out of the car on his own.
He didn't get out of the car on his own.
And on page 49, line 18, I ask, he's still in the middle? And your answer, yeah, he acted like he couldn't breathe. Like, you know what I'm saying? Everybody like, what's up, man? Get the man out.
Man, out of the car.
And so when he couldn't get out on his own, did somebody get him out of the car?
Yes, sir.
Who got him out of the car?
Nate
And so how did he get him out of the car?
grabbed him and tossed him to the side.
He grabbed him and tossed him to the side. What happened after Nate grabbed him and tossed him to the side?
I got on the phone, if I remember.
Direct your attention, Mr. Malone, to page 50. Line 4. Through line 14 of your sworn statement, Mr. Malone.
What, 50 to what?
Please review page 50, line 4 through 15, please.
Okay. I remember.
Does that help refresh your memory, Mr. Malone?
Yeah.
So what happened after Nate tossed the man?
Jeff jumped in his face and was like, why you throw the man out the car like that?
So Jeff clearly didn't like it that Nate had just thrown this man to the ground.
Nope.
Do you do anything or say anything after that?
Nope.
After Nate throws the man onto the ground, is he just laying there?
Can't remember.
I'm sorry?
I can't remember.
Did you go over and do anything?
Nope.
Was he moving at all?
I can't remember.
What were you doing at this point in time?
I think I got on the phone.
Who were you on the phone with?
Somebody.
What were the others doing while you were on the phone?
I don't remember. I wasn't paying them no attention.
Did the man that had been tossed to the ground by the defendant, what was done with him, if you know?
I wasn't paying no attention.
Page 53 of your statement, Mr. Malone. Page 53, line 12 through 18, please.
Yeah, they took him in the house.
So does that help refresh your memory?
Yeah, they just took him in the house.
Do you know who they is?
All three of them, Pops, Jeff, and Nate. And I don't even know if all three of them helped him in the house, but I know they took him in the house.
Did you follow them in?
Nope.
Were you still on the phone?
Yep.
Did you go inside Pops's apartment?
After I got off the phone,
So you went inside the building.
I went inside the building, but I ain't go inside the apartment.
Why didn't you go inside the apartment?
Pops was just like, man, come back later. Come back.
So you went to the door of Pops's apartment. Did you knock on the door?
Yeah, I knocked on the door.
Did Pops open it?
Yeah.
Could you see inside the apartment?
Nope.
How was Pops at the door? How far was the door open?
Just opened the door and was like, come back later,
So he opened the door just so you could see his face?
basically.
So how far open was the door approximately?
I can't tell you how far the door was open, man.
Just enough for you to see his face?
Pops just opened the door, man, come back later.
And so did you leave at that point?
Yeah.
When you left the apartment building, did you get back in the car?
Of course, yeah.
Did you drive away at that point?
Yes, I went home.
Now, eventually later that night, you were stopped by the police, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Did you ever learn the name of the man who you picked up at the Select Mart?
No, I don't remember.
He was identified as William Harlan, Mr. Malone. Did you stab William Harlan that night?
No, sir.
Did you have anything to do with his death?
No, sir.
As I understand your testimony, Mr. Malone, William Harlan's difficulties breathing were noticed by you when you got back to Pops's apartment, right?
Yes, sir.
You hadn't noticed
But
anything like
really,
that
really
before?
what it was that night, it was like the man looked like he can't breathe. He having a problem breathing. And that's what you know what I'm saying? That's what they were saying. The man looked like he can't breathe. He having trouble breathing.
And that first came up when you got back to Pops's apartment.
We got back to Pop's apartment. Everybody got out. You know, it was like, man, the man looked like he can't breathe. Man, having trouble breathing. And that's what happened.
And so none of that conversation or that difficulty breathing had happened or been noticed until you got back to Pops's apartment.
I don't know. I don't know if the man could have breathed when he got in the car or not.
Well, he certainly got into the car fine, or nothing that you had noticed, right, Mr. Malone?
Yeah.
Okay. And you left the Select Mart and went to this other house so that meth could be bought, right?
Huh?
So you drove the others to this other house so that meth could be purchased or bought, right?
Who said it was meth?
Score some drugs, whatever the drugs are, right? Something happened in the backseat of that car that caused Pops to turn around and tell him to knock it off, right? And then when you arrive back at Pops's apartment, the breathing issues are observed, right? And he can't get out of the car.
Okay.
So as I understand it, Mr. Malone, you didn't have anything to do with how William Harlan
No, sir.
was killed?
No, sir.
You didn't stab him?
No, sir. I'm driving.
You were driving. And you're sure that's all you saw that particular night? What your testimony is here today and what your testimony was
Yes,
back on
sir.
March 3rd?
I ain't seen nobody stab nobody. I ain't seen nobody had no knife to stab anybody. That's what it is. I ain't,
It is what it is.
I say that's what it is. I ain't seen nobody stab nobody. I ain't seen a knife for anybody to stab anybody.
But you don't disagree that Mr. Harlan is dead
I mean, I agree, he's dead, man.
and he died that night.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for your time this morning, Mr. Malone. The state has no other questions at this point in time.
Mr. Lowe's cross-examination?
Actually, Your Honor, we can take short break, 10 minutes, Your Honor. Appreciate it.
Okay. I would like to, at least if we can, conclude his testimony before noon or before we break for our lunch. So we can take a short break now, and jury, just keep in mind the admonition I previously given you. And we'll take about a 10-minute break then. All rise, the jury can be excused. Anything we need to pick up though at this time, just in case I fail to ask anything else? Oh, okay, just want to be sure. So, yeah, however you want to handle this, you can. Yes.
You can stay here. Do you use the restroom at all, Mr. Malone?
That's fine. Yeah, okay, then that's fine. Yeah.
Why it's not kind of thing is. Yeah. So again. I'm not done. Thank you.
So are you done, or you still got a few more days?
And the last one, I am kind of have a going pretty right now, like super emotional, but we're gonna do some early days.
Well, that's fine.
Yeah.
And preferably more than the day before.
Yeah.
That is-
I mean, if we went right now, I was gonna have.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Oh, that's still going? Oh shit. All right, I'll let these guys know too. All right, bye. Just so you're aware, YouTube is still going live. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, it goes until, so, just. But there's only 4 cameras. So, and Tom was okay, but Tom was one of those people. And I never say back on. He was my worst possible. He's done as he well so long and stuff. Probably 4 months. That was also. But I didn't know the principal turned on staff. Not quite. I know Mark and I promised to say that. And then we got. I'm not sure. This is like, well, this. Didn't know where we were. We had, under Hobart, we had Keith Rigg as an assistant. And Keith was, I didn't like Keith, I never really got liked Keith. He was very, very egotistical and he always was proud of his win loss record. He never lost a case. Well, as an assistant, the only reason he never lost a case is that every time he came up with one that he was gonna have to try that wasn't any good, he wouldn't try it. I mean, if there were problems with it, he gave it to somebody else and said, here, try this case. Because I had to try one of his cases where his victim was gone. Disappeared. I had to try it in front of Judge Whiting, and Whiting didn't like people that messed around with his time. He was kind of difficult in that regard. I like Judge Whiting, but he was a little upset, not necessarily at me, but the county attorney's office at the time. We were insisting on trying a case where we didn't have a victim. And so I think I ended up dumping I can't remember what it was. It might have been an attempted murder, but I didn't have a victim. And he wasn't cooperating, couldn't find him, those kind of things. So I ended up dismissing that. We did in a possession of an offensive weapon, a silencer. That was the second charge. So I went to trial on a silencer case, and the jury found him not guilty. But I kept Keith's win-loss record pristine. It was one of those kind of games that we were playing at that time. So are we good? You got your restroom break all in, John? We're good? Okay, gotcha. No. But you're talking about the same document, right? Yeah, okay. I think we should add that to our toolbox. Reading glasses. The court toolbox. Well, I understand. I've read a couple. I've had a couple civil lawyers that when they have volumes of like emails or Snapchat or whatever, they'll and if they have volumes of those, God forbid, but anyway, they shrink them down. Amanda Van Wy is notorious for that. And every time I see Amanda, I always say, do I need my reading glasses? Because she does this to me all the time. And I literally, it's so small. I have to read them. I have to pull out reading glasses because I can't read it. It's too small. Okay. You can have a seat just a second. We gotta make sure that if the jury's all back, we can go with it, but I need to. Cliff, you'll stick your head out there and if she's good to go, she can bring them in. Thank you. So I take that, Ben, you're gonna do the cross, right?
Rise for the board.
All right, everyone may be seated. And we're ready to begin cross-examination. Mr. Mulford, when you're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Malone, good morning.
Good morning.
Do you, are you okay with seeing me this way, or do you want to? We've got a lamp in front of us. Mr. Malone, you're not from the Sioux City area, correct?
No, sir.
We're, without going too deep into it, did you grow up someplace warm?
Say it again.
You grew up someplace warm?
Yes, sir. Florida.
So the night that you went out with the four individuals, would you say you were paying attention to the road pretty close?
Yes, sir.
Maybe more than you were paying attention to what was going on in the car?
Yes, sir. Not trying to wreck.
Say again?
Not trying to get in a wreck.
Not a bad idea. Were you drinking that night at all?
No, sir.
No, you didn't have any beer or anything like
No,
that?
sir.
Did you have anything else? Anything heavier, weed, meth, anything
No,
like
sir.
that? No? So when you got to the apartment, everyone was hanging out. And what were they doing?
They're just hanging out.
Were they drinking?
Yes, sir.
Anything else?
Not now, sir.
Not that you saw. Okay. And you mentioned you went over to Pops's place a few times. Is that where Pops's daughter, Nate's sister, would stay sometimes?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
That's where
so
she stayed.
so you would see her pretty regularly there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, yeah, make sure you get that microphone. I'm having a little trouble, or I'm not, excuse me, but jurors are, so.
Okay. Oh, my apologies. Earlier, you said that you remember Nate sitting behind Pops in the car. Is that? You said that, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. When Mr. Loomis refreshed your recollection with the deposition, you remembered it differently?
Yes, sir.
Would you say your memory has changed since that night, or did you just not really remember? And you
Since I ain't really remember.
okay, you were just filling in the blanks. Okay. Going back to the scuffle you said you heard. You said it was or Mr. Loomis called it a scuffle. You said it was playing. You couldn't really tell what it was.
Yeah, I mean, I really was trying to define a word to describe it, you know what I'm saying? But it wasn't like no scuffle. Like, I remember telling them, let me reiterate my words, you know, and try to show them, you know what I mean? Like,
Would you say that you heard movement?
yeah, just basic movement.
So you heard movement in the back seat?
Yes, sir.
And Pops told them to cut it out?
Yes, sir.
You mentioned earlier, Pops told them to cut it out because of where you were.
Yes, sir.
Is why? Because of where you were.
At the dope house.
You were at a house and it was kind of
Yeah.
dangerous to do something, even playing around in the
Yeah,
back seat.
ain't no time to be playing.
Okay. And you were part of this, but it was also kind of a celebration because of Nate's new arrival. Is that right?
I think so. I mean, I just came over there to get a cigarette, you know what I mean? He just had a child, so, you know, I guess that's what it was. I don't know.
And that's kind of where the night went.
Yeah.
Okay. You in your deposition, which I've gone over extensively, you referred to Mr. Harlan, William Harlan, as as Pops's homeboy.
Mhm.
You okay with referring to him that way
Yes,
right
sir.
now? Okay. Was Pops's homeboy tossed to the ground right outside the car?
Think so.
There was the car and then that's where he was dropped? Or
Think so. I can't really remember.
you don't really remember where? Okay. You don't remember if he was in a snowbank or not?
Probably so.
Okay. Do you remember any fight, disturbance, anything like that
No,
from that night? Do you remember Pops's homeboy having a problem scooting over next to Nate after going to, or after you guys were leaving, or when you were leaving the drug house?
Mhm.
He never said anything to you, ow.
he ain't said
Dang.
nothing.
Okay, he was,
I
he
mean,
said he was good.
Yeah,
said
he was good.
fine.
Yeah.
Okay. And did you see any blood? that
No,
night?
sir.
You didn't see any blood?
No, sir. I mean, even if like, I don't know how many times the man gets stabbed, they say, but even if he got stabbed inside that back seat of that car, man, you'd have seen some blood back there. You know what I'm saying? You'd have seen some, I mean, when they pulled me over, they found one little speck of blood by behind the
State's gonna
passenger
object as
side.
to non-responsive, Your Honor.
Yeah, why don't you ask another question?
You didn't see any blood in the backseat of your mom's car.
No, sir.
You would expect to see blood there if there had been a stabbing.
Yes, sir.
And finally, Mr. Conway, you talked about the Pops' homeboy's breathing, right? Do you remember talking about it at all before?
No, sir.
You don't remember mentioning it at all?
No, sir.
And I'm going to refer to the same deposition Mr. Loomis was using to refresh your recollection. You remember that there was a deposition? And you remember, and what Mr. Loomis has been showing you, you kind
Yes,
of
sir.
remember it's pretty close. James, page 53, lines 3 through 9.
Yes, of course.
Mr. Malone. I'm showing you the deposition that you did that day. Can you read lines 3 through 10 or 9 to yourself? Oh.
Mhm.
And you could read that, Mr. Malone, without the glasses.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Malone, did that refresh your recollection? From that
Yes,
night?
sir.
And we were talking about Mr. Harlan, Pops' homeboy's breathing. Based on your recollection, what do you remember now, I guess?
Yes, sir.
What do you remember now?
He was having trouble breathing. What I
When?
said it before.
So since you picked him up?
I think so, if I remember.
Okay. So there wasn't really a change that you noticed? He was breathing
Yeah,
funny before then?
sir.
All right. I think that's all I have, Your Honor. Thank you.
Mr. Loomis, anything else?
But there was a change, Mr. Malone, wasn't there? Because William Harlan was able to get into the car that night at the Select Mart, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was able to get in the car.
He just wasn't able to get out of the car when you pulled into that parking lot area behind Pops's apartment, was he?
Nope.
No, right? So something happened between the time you left the Select Mart and the time you pulled into Pops's parking lot that caused him not to be able to get out of your car. Didn't it?
Could have been that. The problem happened before. And it just got worse.
My question to you, Mr. Malone, is that he didn't have any problem getting into your car that night at the
No,
Select
he
Mart, did
didn't.
he?
No, he didn't.
The problem came when he was trying to get out of your car and clearly couldn't.
Objection, Your Honor. The state's testifying.
I'll sustain the objection.
Did you have any conversation with anybody else about what happened in this incident, Mr. Malone,
No, sir.
after the fact?
No, sir.
Did you tell anybody else about something differently happening inside that car that you testified to here today?
I know of, sir.
I'm sorry, what?
Not that I know of. I mean,
Is that a no?
no.
And so you stand by your testimony, Mr. Malone, that this scuffle or movement because you're at this drug house is what caused Pops to turn around and tell him to knock it off
It ain't what caused it, because it was there.
because you were at this drug house.
It was just telling the man, y'all chill out, basically, like, you know what I'm saying? Where we at?
Simple movement caused that to happen.
No, like, yeah, it's a simple movement. Yeah, I guess. I don't know. It ain't a time to be playing.
Thank you for your time, Mr. Malone. Nothing further.
Mr. Malone, the state was just asking about the changes to Mr. Harlan. You didn't notice any changes from when he got in the car and when you pulled in,
Oh, sir,
besides him moving and changing seats.
that's it.
Okay, nothing further, Your Honor.
Thank you. He's the witnesses. Can we release him off his subpoena? Okay. Let's see, we are just about, so do you have another witness ready or? Okay, that's fine. I assume that might be the case. Let's just go ahead and take our lunch break now. And Mr. Loomis, we have a witness available by 1 maybe, or what's your? Okay, then you're gonna get just a little bit longer lunch just for that reason. So I'm just gonna go ahead and remind you, like I did earlier, about the admonition and let you have a little longer lunch. We'll have you back here by 1 so we can restart with, or continue, I should say, with the state's evidence. I'll rise. The jury's excused for lunch. Okay, you can be seated. So let's just go ahead. I just want to make sure we did all that with, and we'll have the security team go ahead and take care of Mr. Malone first. Yeah. Just as I normally do, just checking. Is there anything we need to take up at this time?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, great. Then we'll continue to be in recess. I'll end the Zoom and YouTube right now and restart it after lunch.